Welcome in, everyone. Cassie Soto here with you as we close out another week on the Raiders coaching and general manager search. Joining me to bring us all the latest is Raiders beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vinny Bonsignore. Vinny, a not-so-new name has popped up in the Raiders coaching search, and that's Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. He was a prime candidate at the beginning of this search, but just recently, on Thursday actually, the Raiders finally asked for permission to interview McDaniels for their coaching vacancy. Can you just take us through this process and why now are the Raiders circling back to McDaniels?
Well, I think that they wanted to kind of sort through their general manager candidates as well, which obviously they've done more of that than in terms of head coach search. But I'm sure part of the process is to gauge interest in general managers in terms of what coaches they would be comfortable working with, what their list of coaching candidates might be. And you mentioned the prominent Dave Ziegler, who has been working with Josh McDaniels for quite some time. They went to college together. John Carroll University. Josh McDaniels gave him his NFL start when he was the head coach in Denver. Now they've been working together in New England for quite some time. So there's obviously chemistry, synergy, a working relationship between Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. And I think what's been happening over this last week or so, I think the Raiders have had their eyes on Josh McDaniels, and Josh McDaniels has had his eye on them. And it was just kind of a fact-finding type of a exercise there for a little while. But it sure seems like there's now a comfort level between the Raiders and Josh McDaniels to take this to another step.
Yeah, and McDaniels is expected to interview on Friday or Saturday. Still not really sure there, but an announcement could come very soon on that as far as the Raiders coaching search goes. But Vinny, a quick Google search will show you that McDaniels didn't have the most success in his first time as a head coach. He led the Broncos in 2009 and 2010, finished with an 11-17 record, and then in his second opportunity to be a head coach, Vinny, he left the Colts at the altar the day before his formal press conference back in 2018. How much do you think McDaniels has grown since these incidents? And do you think that it should be on the Raiders to be the ones to give him the opportunity to maybe regain his reputation as a head coach?
Yeah, and it's obviously going to be on the Raiders to do as much fact finding as they possibly can to get to the bottom of both those situations. Now in Denver, he was 33 years old. It was his first head coaching go around. For whatever reason, the Broncos gave him full control over everything. In retrospect, that was probably a little bit too much to give somebody who at that age making his first go around as a head coach. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially when you look back on it. And I think he bit off a little bit more than he can chew. The key for him is, did you learn from it? Did you grow from it? Did you mature from it? And you would have to think 12 years or so down the road that he has. If he has, then, maybe he learned on the job on somebody else's dime and the Raiders are going to, reap the rewards of that. If he hasn't, then this has a chance to be a colossal mistake. The Colts situation, talking to people in the NFL, look, it happened. You can't, really necessarily, write it off or anything like that, because it did happen. And it's part of, his resume, so to speak. But also in talking to people in the NFL, it didn't seem like there was anything shady on either part. He just kind of got to a point after hearing a little bit more information, after, obviously giving his commitment, that gave him some misgivings about moving forward with this. And it didn't look good, but it happened. And I'm sure that the Raiders are going to do all their due diligence to kind of figure out what exactly happened. And just based on my own reporting and my own talking to people, I think it's something that people in the league kind of understand what happened, why it happened, and why, while it's a big deal, it's not like a career breaker.
Well, we know, again, Josh McDaniels will be in the Raiders building at some point this weekend here in Las Vegas. But Vinny, I wonder, are there any other scenarios out there you think might happen? Again, in all the reporting that you've done day in and day out for us here in this Raiders coaching and GM search, do you see any other names and possibilities maybe panning out here for the Raiders? What's your gut telling you?
Well, they interviewed Todd Bowles yesterday. I'm getting my days mixed up here. He's the former New York Jets head coach, defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, very highly regarded around the NFL. They've also interviewed Gerard Mayo, the New England Patriots inside linebacker coach, for their head coaching position. And there's still a possibility that he can talk to D'Amico Ryans, the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens this weekend. If it doesn't get closed this weekend, then they could probably reopen this thing and maybe go in a whole other direction. But I wouldn't be surprised if something did get knotted up here pretty soon.
What off season, Vinny? There is no off season here, right?
Not at all. Not at all. And then right after, the draft, free agency, it's all looming.
Yeah. All right. Well, Vinny will keep us updated on everything we need to know about the Raiders coaching and GM search at vegasnation.com. Give him a follow on Twitter if you haven't already. Also at Vinny Bonsignore. He is Vinny Bonsignore. I'm Cassie Soto. Thank you so much for watching.